Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I am not Anna.
I am definitely not
Melinda,
Sheila. I am
this
Erin.
And Erin is our producer, and I
Yes.
am the booking agent. We are supposed to be the behind the scenes people, but today we get the privilege of being in front of the camera because we had a last minute situation with our original co-host. So Erin and I just picked up the ball and ran with it.
We did. Yes, we're going to bring you Laura Hottenstein, who is a counselor for Hillsborough County Schools, and talk about attending school post-pandemic, even though we're not really kind of out of it yet, but we will be.
Yes.
And we are not professionals.
We are
I have 2 children running around. Hopefully they stay playing the Xbox. Normally they don't play the Xbox this early in the morning, but I needed something to keep them entertained.
And I have cats and animal like dogs and people running around. So yes, same. So
yes,
my children
we're not
are now
professionals.
No, my children are grown, but I have children, kittens and puppies. So so first I wanted to we're going to kind of talk about a few things going on in Florida this week. I wanted to talk about Governor DeSantis, first of all, and just about his new law, HB1, that is supposed to keep people from protesting, but it's kind of interesting. Now, listen, I am all for people protesting. I think that is our it's our First Amendment right, not second, third, or fourth. It's a First Amendment right. That means our founding fathers found it extremely important to include that. And I know that HB1 is being challenged in court, but I don't think it's gone through the litigation yet. But he basically said if there can only be 25 people, if you obstruct roadways, you can get arrested. So in Florida this week, in Tampa and Miami, all over the state, there have been protesters about liberating Cuba, and they've been in the streets. And it's interesting that he is very supportive of that movement and has not mentioned HB1 at all. So I wonder if it were Black Lives Matter, would he be as supportive? I don't think so. These are people that typically support him. So he's like, yay.
Absolutely. That was just the point I was going to make as well. The group that's protesting, and rightfully so, they are, like you said, the group that primarily voted for him, and he wants to keep them happy and at the sake of other people and his hypocrisy. It's great. I'm so glad I'm not in Florida anymore.
I'm so sad you're gone, but I hear you. So that was the first thing. And then Tampa had their first arrest this past week of someone, I believe it involved an altercation with a police officer, but still they used the HB1 as the reason they arrested this person.
Of course
from
they
my
did.
understanding. So that was still upset. I don't believe in violent protesting. I believe in peaceful protesting, but I believe everybody should have that right. So anyway, I also wanted to talk really quick. Did you see the president's speech, Erin, about voting rights? Oh my gosh.
I did. I watched it.
It was
yes.
amazing. It was so inspiring, and absolutely, I totally agree that this is our democracy we're talking about. Sorry,
absolutely.
Frank is trying to get in my coffee. There you go, buddy. So I told you, we are not professionals.
We are not at all.
So anyway, Frank was one of my foster kittens that I foster failed. So he's been on the show before, actually, a while ago when he was an itty bitty kitten, but now he's a big boy. So, but
he's our recurring guest.
He is. They're like the mascots of Cup of Joe. So we have a lot of those. But anyway, I think I read that there were 150 companies that are backing the bill, the voters' rights bill, and that like Hershey's, Amazon, Target, Pepsi.
As if we need another reason to love Target.
And Starbucks. Woohoo!
Right.
So,
Starbucks.
And Lyft. So, I mean, I just think, once the money starts getting behind this, it will change things. And I'm really thankful that they realize that our democracy is at stake. It absolutely is. And we know from Hillsborough County, I'm sure you have horrible flashbacks of living here and being gerrymandered.
Well, I never
So-
voted in Hillsborough County, but yes,
Oh, okay,
you are right
yes.
about the gerrymandering part.
It's
for
horrible.
sure.
So,
It is, yes.
and then just the other thing I wanted to mention briefly is we are having a horrible time with red tide. It is a mess. Dead fish are all over St. Petersburg and Sarasota, and it's starting to creep up into Tampa. It's not all the way into Tampa Bay yet. Ugh.
For people that aren't from Florida or coastal areas, what is red tide, Melinda?
It is runoff from that, like the fertilizers, and it gets into the water. And when it gets warm, this algae blooms. And I can't go near the beach right now because it will impact breathing issues. So I have asthma. It makes people physically ill. And then there's dead fish everywhere. It's very stinky. And it costs, I think I heard this morning, it's $60,000 a day. That's not budgeted in the local budgets for people to clean it up. So
that's crazy expensive.
It is. If you could just see it, I don't know if we can put a link on somehow afterwards to just show people what we're talking about and all the fish. It's a mess.
I will make a note right now. How is this year different from last year? Because I remember when I lived there last year, they talked about red tide. And so I had to look it up because I didn't know.
They talk about it every year. I mean, I've been here since 2005 and I've heard about it since then, but it seems to have gotten progressively worse. And then there was a place called Piney Point, right? Am I right? Is that what it was called?
I don't know.
Anyway, someone needs to correct me, but it had a big spill. It was an environmental issue earlier, a few months, maybe in May, and it was just dumping it. The levee broke and it dumped all kinds of fertilizer. And some people are saying that's making it worse this year. I'm not sure. There's been an oil spill out in the Gulf. There's been a bomb that I'm not sure if it was the military exploded out in the Gulf, and all of those things can combine to cause this issue, and then we have to live with it, and it impacts our tourism. Who's going to want to come to a stinky fish beach? Nobody. Nobody. It impacts us in a lot of ways. So
what can people do to help this issue?
Well, you can get involved in your local caucuses in Florida. There's an environmental caucus that works towards alleviating not just this problem, but other problems with the environment that we have in Florida. And then maybe you can put some links up for other ways for people to get involved with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I will do that after the show. Laura says it's Piney Point, by the way. If you
Piney
see the
Point. Did I say it correctly? I think I did. So I think I said Piney Point, but anyway.
I think you did, yes.
Now, didn't you want to talk to me about Tennessee?
I just wanted to mention that we have 2 awards we're giving out this week. The first one is the Cup of Joe with Anna and Sheila Saving Democracy Award. And we're giving that to the Texas Democrats because of what they did this week. It's great.
It's awesome.
It's one reason to love Texas other than their barbecue, but don't kill me, Kansas City people, because Well,
you better watch out for South Carolina people too, because we have a good barbecue as well, including we also have Duke's mayonnaise. So that's another story. Yes. I digress. Yeah. But
I will eat all the barbecue. Don't get me wrong. I will eat any and all barbecue. It's all good. Our second award though goes to Tennessee it is newly titled Cup of Joe with Anna and Sheila, and I wrote it down because I didn't want to get it wrong. The Biggest Loser Award for trying to actively infect and kill people with COVID. So thanks, Tennessee, for that. We want to give you that award because you suck. Big time.
Now listen, I'm supposed to go to Italy in August, and if they keep messing this stuff up, and I mean, I've been double vaccinated, and I've actually had COVID, as most of you know. Last October, I had to go in the hospital. It's very scary. But if this messes up my trip to Italy because of this variant D or Delta variant, I'm going to be very upset about that. That is not okay with me. So let's get together, people, and everybody get vaccinated, because what's happening is all of the people that have not been vaccinated, those are the people that are getting really sick. And the Delta variant is much worse than the original variant. I've heard it's more sticky in the lungs, and it causes a lot of respiratory issues.
It's more contagious.
it's much more contagious.
Mhm.
And yeah, so please be careful out there. I'm personally wearing my mask again out in public because I have autoimmune issues and I don't want to get sick
Right.
again. And
Mhm.
it's breaking through sometimes with people, and they're talking about a booster, which I'm like, okay, give me whatever you need to give me. I don't ever want to have COVID again. My arm's right here.
Right.
Just go ahead.
Yep,
So,
absolutely. And they do say though that vaccinated people, they still can get COVID. It's
well,
definitely a reduced chance,
yeah, it's
and your
93%
symptoms,
effective. So
right?
you've
Your
got
symptoms are
7%.
mhm,
Yeah.
right. Yes. So
Symptoms aren't as bad, and you probably won't have to go into the
absolutely.
hospital, but you're going to feel
Right.
bad. And who wants to go through
Mhm.
a week of feeling bad and then having to stay away from people again? I don't want to go
Yeah.
backwards. Do you?
No, if you're not moving forward, you're just standing still. So
Exactly.
let's move forward, people. Come on, get the
Yes.
jab, get the
And don't
shot.
you think that it's quite interesting that some of the other party is saying, it's my body. I should have the right to say what I do. And I don't want the government telling me what to do. And women have been saying this for years.
Oh, yep.
Hello.
Yes, this is not news to us, is it?
Not news.
Not
No,
at
it is
all.
not. So
For sure,
anyway.
yes. All right.
Okay.
Well, I think it's time to introduce our guest today. So
Yay.
we can chat with Laura. She is a Hillsborough County Public Schools counselor. And we're going to talk about the return to schools this fall. Hillsborough County is one of the largest in the state of Florida. It has offered in-person and virtual last year. I'm not sure what their plan is this year, if they're just going straight in person and opting, but these are all things for us to ask Laura, and I will pop her in the stream. I'm going to also throw out a plug to follow, and share us at Cup of Joe for Anna and
Yes.
Sheila. I'm going to be distracted just for a brief moment because I'm wearing two hats right now. I'm going to put up our links so you guys can follow us on Twitter and Instagram and just interact with us.
And Facebook.
We put out a call for questions this week to ask Laura. We got a few in, so we're going to touch on those a little bit if she doesn't already answer them in what she has planned to say. And so I'm going to pop her in the stream and then.
Oh, and if you have any questions, you're welcome to chime in.
Absolutely,
while we're live.
yes.
Yeah.
We've got the comments on the side here. I can see them if you have a question for her as we're talking, and then we will pop it in there for you.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Laura. How
Hi,
are
Laura.
you today?
I am doing great. I came off of 3 back-to-back vacations, so I think I'm doing okay.
Oh, wow. Oh, fun.
How do I get signed up for that?
Well deserved.
And I will tell you, I am living the life of self-care because I had to, but that's part of what I'm going to kind of cover today, but the importance of it and what it kind of looks like when you're done. But I'm excited to be here. I'm wearing my red for Ed, even though it's not Wednesday. So
good.
Public education.
I wanted to, speaking of public education,
yes.
Do you mind if we touch on the school board meetings that have been going on in Hillsborough County recently?
So just for those who are not aware, our county's school board back in June, I think it was June 15th, voted not to renew charters for 4 schools. And the reason they chose not to do that, 2 of them are financial too, is that they weren't following the free appropriate public education. So FAPE, they weren't servicing all the students. They also have been a lot of talk about what happens. Well, they did this, and the Department of Education, Richard Corcoran, came back and said, no, 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 and trying to bully us and threatening our funds. So
that man needs to go. I do not care for him.
So what people need to understand is the Department of Education and the State Board of Education is appointed positions. They're not elected. Our school board is elected. So they're trying to take away the rights. And under the Florida Constitution, our school board has a right to decide what is best for our county. So the State Board of Education meeting happened. If you haven't checked it out, go to Florida Channel, go check it out. It was, I don't even have words.
I would just like to chime in. I did send my kids to a charter school when they were 9th and 10th grade, just because I felt like they needed a smaller school. It was New Point Academy, and it was a really good experience for us, for our family. However, the gentleman that owned the school, because you have to remember these are businesses.
Yes.
He embezzled money and the school closed, and we didn't find out till right before school was starting again.
Mm-hmm.
And so it disrupted my kids. It was just a big mess. It was a horrible experience. The kids were crying, the teachers were crying, everybody was horribly sad. And my kids went back into public school and they did great and graduated and everything. But I just saw them really, for our children, blooming in a small environment. I do have special needs, twice exceptional kids, and those needs were, in my situation, met very well. But just the fact that this was a business, and that is what people need to remember about these charter schools. They are a business, and when you privatize schools, that is what happens. People can embezzle money, and you're out of the school. So
Absolutely.
Just saying.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and thank you for sharing that, because not all charter schools are bad. They're providing really good services, but these 4 that are on the table are not doing what they need to do, and they need to be held accountable, just like any traditional public school.
Absolutely, they, especially if they're not meeting the needs of special needs students, that is not okay with me. So
absolutely.
And along with gifted. So when we talk about gifted, that is also a special need, that they do have a plan for gifted kids. So when they're not getting, and nobody's getting the services they need, and they get to cherry pick who they want and then send them back to a traditional public school after getting their money right before testing, which does happen.
Exactly.
And that's an issue.
Yeah, and that was an issue. My kids, like I said, they're twice exceptional. So they were gifted and they had ADHD. They don't mind if I tell you that. So they were called twice exceptional students. And it was sometimes an issue in regular school. That was one of the reasons I moved them to a smaller school. It wasn't that it wasn't on paper. It was on paper, but unfortunately, some of the teachers just didn't address it. So,
and that's something that we need to be working on, is improving our traditional public schools. But let's talk about the money piece, because there is a very important school board meeting happening Tuesday morning at 8:00. Please pay attention. Notes early. Have your cup of joe, and have your coffee ready, because there'll be some speakers there, and they are voting whether or not, basically what happened at the State Board of Education is that Richard Corcoran and the state board said you have 10 days to renew their contracts or there's consequences. When our superintendent asked him point blank, what were the consequences? He's like, well, follow the law. Well, He didn't respond like a consequence. He didn't say in public record what the consequence would be. Well, let me tell you, he's threatening to take away funding from 220,000 students.
That is not okay. And I don't have kids in school anymore, but I still pay taxes, and I still live. What people need to realize is that, it does impact your property. It impacts the value of your property if you live in a good school district, which I don't necessarily think that's fair. It should impact everybody equally. But if you're being real about it, you want to live in a good school district, and it does impact the value of your home. So if you care about those things, you need to go and get involved.
And it is about profits. It's about profit. That's the bottom line.
Yes.
So if you follow the money, look at who is getting paid and who's getting supported by charter schools, and then look at what's going to happen, because they are trying to privatize our education in the state of Florida, and have been. Their goal is to have it done in the next 2 to 3 years. This is about an election, is the bottom line, and it's about profit. And the money and the talking and the whatever that happened on Wednesday was. I just go check it out and make your own decision. Okay. So anyway, but pay attention to Tuesday's special board meeting. And if you believe that they made the right decision, the vote was 6-1 back in June. 6-1. Yes. And they're trying to take away that right of the 6 school board members. So make sure you support those school board members, is what I'm kind of getting at. All right. So moving on. I could talk about this for hours. So.
I know. Too. We get it. It's my favorite topic, politics and kittens. I'm all in.
So how do you merge those two together? Come on a podcast.
Exactly.
Definitely. So. All right. So we are headed back into the start of school next month. Hillsborough County goes back at the beginning of August. I think maybe.
I think the first day of school is August 10th. Your counselors
Okay.
go back July 26th.
All right. So what are you guys doing differently this year to prep for the return to school? Are they offering the virtual or the e-learning as they did last year, or is it different this year?
No, it's all in person, or you can go to Hillsborough Virtual School or Florida Virtual School. We do not have the e-learning option like we did last year.
Okay.
Masks are optional at this point. They're optional also
that.
for elementary, so be aware of that. It is something that the district decided or the superintendent put forward. If you have any questions about that, contact your school board members. That's going to be your best route. And how individual schools have their own plans. A lot of it is going to come out when we go back to school. So I'll know more once we go back to school, and I can always follow up after that. A lot of this is just hinging, but we are in a better spot than we were last year. At least we know we're going to school.
I suppose, yes. But didn't the superintendent make the mask decision back in May, though?
He did.
I feel like that was very early for him to decide that.
He did, and then he came out again and said he understands, but he's still making it optional. I do believe that if you want to, it's optional, so you can have your kid wear a mask. Honestly, I am really going to think hard. I think I'm going to still wear my mask in my office when I'm one-on-one with students, and because not every middle schooler has been vaccinated.
Absolutely.
Middle schoolers are 11.
And also the Delta variant is going around. So, I mean, that's spreading like wildfire. So I think parents really, you need to look that up and make your own decision about that. But I would be, my kids would be wearing a mask if they were still in school.
So it's interesting. Sorry, I was just saying, so we just moved to Northern Virginia, and we're in one of the biggest school districts up here. And I've been kind of trying to keep tabs on all of this for them. And it's kind of all over the place because they have traditionally been a little more conservative. They had virtual learning for everybody last year up until this spring. And then they started doing a hybrid. And the plan is to go back 5 days this fall. We start at the end of next month. But then looking at like the mask guidelines, and they have very specific, at least as of right now, I don't know if these are the guidelines for this fall or if they were the guidelines for the spring, but they have very specific, if you are an adult and you're in the school and there are kids in the school, even if you're vaccinated, you still have to wear your mask. If you're an adult and you're vaccinated and you're in the school and there's no kids, it's optional. It's like they have it detailed out, and it's night and day really for Florida versus Virginia. So it's
Florida's
just
a free
interesting.
I mean,
it
really is.
And it really is.
And the ones I'm more concerned about are definitely going to be the ones that were not vaccinated. My kids are vaccinated. My children are vaccinated. They wanted to be vaccinated. And I am very comfortable with them going to school. But I don't have an elementary kid. And so the idea that my child doesn't have a vaccination available to them and we're being told they can just do whatever they want, that's putting so many people at risk. And yes, there have been breakthroughs on people that have been vaccinated. I know people that have gotten sick with COVID being vaccinated. But the key is that they're not going to the hospital. They're good within a couple of days.
Absolutely.
Vaccine. But you still have people getting sick. So right now that's how it stands. And
my understanding as well is that the Delta variant is making younger kids very sick.
Yes, I was just going to say that too.
Yes, so you really might want to think about that. And I do think it's very interesting. I think when you talk about this today, because I just realized we're all like, Laura's a retired military spouse. I'm a retired military spouse, and Erin's spouse is active duty. That's why she moved. So, just shout out to the military. Yay!
Absolutely, yes.
We get things done. What can I say?
We do. Absolutely, we do. We jump right in there.
We don't have any other choice. Otherwise, it would never get done.
No, we wouldn't.
Absolutely not.
But anyway, so maybe kind of how to prep yourself really, because I'm really here for the emotional piece and what to do and while we go back to school, and there's a few things going on. So to take care of yourself, I want to start with talking about something that's coming up at Newsom on July, and I have it written down. I'm sorry. I'm not a professional. I'm a professional school counselor.
Yeah, we're not professional.
So July 24th, Newsom is holding the Youth Mental Health First Aid for Parents. This is something that's been offered to the counselors and to all of the staff of Hillsborough County Public Schools. And now they're offering it to parents. So it is worth going to. The sign up ends tomorrow, July 17th. I think that's tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. So make sure that you sign up. I had a Google form, but if you go on the Newsom parent page, you go on the Newsom PTSD page, they've got the link. I think I gave it to also Erin, but if you have any questions, reach out to me. So that is awesome. That's 8:30 to 3:30, but it gives you really a guideline of what to look for. What do these terms mean? Because everybody pulls around anxiety, depression, like this is mental health, like it is a common term. What does it really mean to be depressed, and what does it really mean to have anxiety? And anxiety manifests in different ways. It can manifest by shutting down, but it can also manifest with rage. So that's something to really remember when you're talking about different things, also things to look at for your own kids. Because moving back to schools is, everybody's, so excited we get to see our friends. But if you've been home all year doing e-learning, it's going to be a very much an adjustment. Expect an academic gap. Don't worry about the academic achievement gap. That stuff is going to get worked out by the teachers. But the kids can come back and they excelled in e-learning, and they can go back and their grades can fluctuate. So just kind of be flexible with your kids and what you're expecting out of your kids, because it's going to look differently for every single kid, and it's not going to necessarily look at the way that you expect it to look.
What would you look for with depression? Because I know you just mentioned anxiety, but if your kid is depressed, how would that manifest?
So different with every kid, right? So the kids tend to mask a lot, and they won't say anything to you, especially if they're teenagers. They don't want to talk. But really, if they're having a disinterest in their activities, their normal activities, sleeping more. I know it's hard to tell with teens, especially if they're sleeping more, but there's a way to tell. And it's just a decrease in eating, decrease in activity. There's a less connection with people. Kind of shutting out, shutting down, putting a wall up. That's really depression. And honestly, if you're concerned, there's a few things you can do. So there's 211. If you're concerned about any kind of suicidal ideation, anything that doesn't look right, looking at cutting or self-injury or anything like that, call 211, call your doctor, take the kid into ER, whatever you have to do. But 211 is for the crisis center, and it is a great resource that we have in this county. It's also nationwide, I believe. And they will connect you to services, and they will talk to the kids. Share that information with your kid, because sometimes your kid will not tell you what's going on. But if they know they can call somebody 24/7 and at 2 o'clock in the morning, they're feeling helpless, then have them call that number and reach out. The biggest thing is to reach out. Also in our county, we have referral services. So please reach out to your counselor, get some referrals out. There is also mental health available. So if you are having difficulty with anything such as trying to figure out if your kid just doesn't seem right, have them check in with us, and we kind of go from there. Also, if you are having difficulty getting in with anybody because there is a shortage of therapists nationwide, and it's taking sometimes 3 months, 6 months to get into a therapist, especially for kids, then reach out to us, because we have referral systems to help get them in sooner. We have a partnership with the behavioral health, and now I'm drawing a blank on which one, but we can definitely do the referral, and I've gotten kids in within 2 weeks.
Okay, that's amazing, because I know TRICARE has recently changed to Humana. I get Humana and Humira confused. And what I have heard through the grapevine is that they are not paying therapists what they should and what they have in the past. They've cut their pay. So therapists are starting to, I'm saying this for military because, that impacts us. They're not paying the therapists what they should, and so a lot of therapists have stopped taking TRICARE, which is a problem, and we need to address that. That is a big problem for military, because our kids do need, especially moving is huge, and that shakes up their whole world. So yeah, we need to address that. And Dr. Jill Biden, if you're watching, I know you're a fan of our show. We need a little help. So
we need a lot of help, and I think
people
like to throw around mental health like it's a buzzword, and it drives me crazy. And the people making those decisions have zero mental health background. What we do have in this county, however, is a team of mental health people, and I love that. So it is coming from a real place. But yes, a lot of therapists are not taking insurance because the insurance isn't paying out what they need to pay out. They also don't pay for certain things. So, there's all that into there. But yeah, it is a problem. But again, reach out to your local school counselors.
Yeah, they talk about, and school counselors are so important. I can't tell you, we had some situations with other kids that were friends of my kids, and we went in and spoke with school counselors about that, and they immediately addressed the issue and were extremely kind and very helpful. I've never had anything but a great experience with the school counselors in Hillsborough County. They've always been wonderful. Yeah, they really have. So, So, and very understanding, and it was just great. So we got a lot of support through that system. So
thank you. Thank you for saying that, because I think people underestimate what we actually do. We are in charge of the social, emotional, and academic well-being of all of our students.
It's a lot. Y'all do a lot. A lot.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We do a lot. So thank you. But yes, advocate for us too, because we're actually supposed to have a caseload of 200, one counselor to 250 students, and we normally have anywhere to 500 to 550 students.
That all sounds like a lot. Even 200 sounds like a lot.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So it is.
I don't know how you guys do it.
With
That's
a lot
crazy.
of coffee. See, again.
Yes. You need a bigger cup like this. Like this is ginormous. This is about 3 cups in a cup.
I need to bathe in it. But anyway, so I mean, there's a lot of resources out here in the county, and there's a lot of free resources online for helping the kids. So just kind of. I just want to add a couple real quick for anxiety, and then we can go on to something else. But for anything, mindfulness, we've talked a lot about mindfulness. It is out there. It's a term people talk about, but this is good for adults just as much as it is good for kids. But I have 2 resources for 2 different age groups, but definitely find out what works for you. Both of these are free. You shouldn't have to pay for it, but Calm and Headspace are 2 really popular ones, but you do have to pay an annual fee for those. The 2 I want to talk about, one is Mind Yeti. It's mindyeti.com. And that is videos both in English and Spanish. Also, they have it on Spotify. They have it on all these different resources like iTunes. So it's not just videos, it's also done audio. And what I like, again, is that it's English and Spanish. It's free. I don't think they're taking subscriptions anymore, but the videos are still out there. And they are great for ages 5 to 12. So that's great, because you're starting with the younger kids. It has a really cartoon character, and it's very accessible for the younger kids. For teens and so forth, I just downloaded this one myself. And I don't know why I don't have it written down, but it's called Me Time, I believe. And that is great for teens. It is an actual app that's located through your Play Store, be it for Android or for iPhone. I checked it out. It is, again, free. It has a whole bunch of different kind of subject areas. So if you're a teen, go through the index, check it out, because it's also good for adults. But what I love about it, it's also in English and Spanish. And
what did you say the name of that one was, Laura?
Me Time, but I'm going to pull up my app and make sure that's right. And again, this is an app that can be found on iPhone and Android. And I just downloaded it myself. It's called My Life, not even Me Time.
Okay.
I need to look at these things.
I wasn't being able to find it.
It's My Life, which you can use Me Time to use.
Okay.
So it's My Life is what the name of the app. And again, it's free. I love that it is also inclusive. They include things like when it just check it out. It's amazing and it's very diverse. So those are two things. So they go through breathing exercises, they do meditation, but they also get that focus on the important stuff. And that is going to be something that these kids really need. And you will need to be flexible and keep your own mind when all the things try to go back to normal. Because right now it looks like business as usual, and we need to be aware that there's still fallout from the coronavirus. And the time that we spent. And so just be very aware of your own symptoms and your own check, and make things as normal as you can. If you don't, your kids need somebody to listen, and they need to be heard. And it's hard sometimes for us not to jump in and fix. And I think sometimes they just need to be heard, and then just have the tools ready. And again, reach out to these professionals that are there free for you. We have them available in the schools, and your counselors return July 26th.
What would you recommend to a parent so when my oldest was at Newsom, I didn't need to necessarily reach out for a counselor, but the few times that I did, I never got any response. What would you recommend to a parent who is trying to reach out but isn't getting anything back?
So then you call the school, which I know could be difficult. There's a school psychologist. They all have social workers, although some of these have been cut back. The high schools used to have full-time school psychologists. With all the cuts, they moved them to part-time, which isn't great. But if you still can't get a hold of them, call the APs, call a principal, call admin and say, hey, I'm trying to get in touch with somebody from counseling. Newsom is crazy busy. They have
absolutely
600, 700 kids, and they are doing senior. I mean, it's nuts.
Absolutely.
So sometimes, honestly, getting a phone call through, they have a lot of voicemails. They have to check emails sometimes also quicker. But I understand that. I know that because it has just been impossible with everything that we have going on that we don't know. Sometimes we don't always get back. So just if you don't get a hold of them, ask for the school psychologist. If you don't get a hold of them, ask for the social worker, or reach out to admin and say, I'm not getting a hold of somebody and this is an issue.
All right, good. That's good. Good to know.
Start local, go get a chain of command, but please do not hop over to your school board member saying you can't get a hold of somebody until you decide the school first.
Can you imagine?
My
goodness.
It happens all the time.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh, I would not think to do that. I would not.
So please don't. These are the two.
Yes,
do not do that to your employees.
Do not.
Because we are overwhelmed, and we do want to try to help, and we are there to help. And that ultimately, if you can't get a hold of somebody, try admin. If you can't get a hold of anybody in the school, then go ahead and go up and do what you got to do.
Sure. Yes, definitely.
And I would just like to mention quickly, because I had a kid that had some medical issues, hospital homebound. My kid was able to graduate on time with his class, even though he was physically not able to go to school. And some people don't realize it's not just for, it's for also invisible illness. It's not just for the outside illness. It's for kids that are suffering with anxiety and they can't deal with school. It's for kids that maybe they have rheumatoid arthritis, maybe they have migraines. Some of the stress things can manifest into other things, and it's important that you know that resource is out there. And then also, and I wish I could remember it, but it's for children with disabilities. And what they'll do, I'll have to look it up and we can put it on a link. One of the resources that we had, because my youngest son missed so many days of actual school. He didn't qualify for Bright Futures, but he did qualify for an organization. It's a federal and state organization. I wish I could think of it, but my COVID brain is in full charge of me this morning. But they help kids that are graduating seniors, and they will help them get into college. They will help them with job interviews. They will help them decide what their capabilities are related to their illness is, and their
that's fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
I will absolutely find that, because the only reason we found out about that is through we had my youngest had arthritis, and so the pediatric arthritis doctor told us that, and we didn't know. So let me tell you the story real quick. We literally found out he didn't qualify for Bright Futures that morning. And that afternoon we had a doctor appointment, and he said, "Oh, you qualified for this." And it was like someone closed a window and opened a door. It was amazing. Right. It really, it makes me still cry when I think about it, but a lot of times the schools don't talk about this, and it needs to be a resource that's out there. So I will definitely find it. I'll give it to Erin. It'll be in our notes.
Yeah, definitely share it. And I say that because there's so many resources, and I'm not in high school. I haven't been in a high school counselor in 5 years. So a lot of the scholarships and things like that I don't know about, but our college and career counselors did get cut in this county, and they were probably our best resource, but even as much as they know, everything keeps changing.
They don't know. Yeah, and so they don't know
anything
everything
that you want to share, I will share also with fellow counselors. That would be great. So
yes, because they do.
There's other stuff.
They are supposed to have someone that goes into the school and talks to them about it. I don't know. When we were going through this, our counselors did not know this was a resource, and I brought in all the information and tried to educate everybody I could, because I knew other children were suffering and dealing with this stuff too. So anyway.
But that goes back into helping all the students, no matter what. And
matter what.
And here's another thing. I'm going to talk about 504 plans real quick, just because I don't want to get into a lot of it. 504 plans are not there just to kind of make sure that your kid has extra time during testing. And I think there's sometimes a misnomer on that. It is for medical illnesses as well. So, for example, I'm going to use my personal stuff. My son has had IgA nephropathy. He has currently been in remission, but when we moved here in 3rd grade, he had it. We got a 504 plan that gives him extra time as needed on tests, because he had to use the restroom a lot. He would have had a lot of absences. His absences always, because he's got an immune system that is compromised. We had to keep him home. So it really protects it. If you have any questions about that, it is medical documentation. You do go through a process, but don't just think it's for ADHD. There are medical stuff that also qualifies. So just if you have a question for medical, definitely reach out and talk about a 504 plan. It doesn't have to be an IEP.
Yeah, people don't understand. I know when we were going through this, sometimes people don't understand the difference between a 504 plan and an IEP plan. So from my experience, the 504 is for things like extra time on homework or turning in homework, because a lot of times my kids had ADHD. They were gifted, so they're thinking, well, how can they be that smart and not turn in their homework? But that's actually, I can't tell you how many times I would go in and meet with the teacher and pull out the homework out of their backpack. It would drive us crazy. But if they have that written to the 504, that's something that they can work on. And prompts, like if they need to be, I have kids, well, I kind of do it too. The apple didn't fall far from the tree. I have severe ADHD, if you can't tell. But and I found out when we were diagnosing my oldest son for that. So, but prompts, like if they blurt, just a silent prompt of tapping somebody on the shoulder to there's all kind of things that can go into 504. And then the IEP is for things like if someone needs a hearing aid in class, or if someone needs, like my son has arthritis, writing is very difficult for him. So he had permission to keyboard in class, take notes rather than actually writing with a pencil all the time. So those are the kind of things that can help.
And both are individualized educational plans. Both are protected by federal law. And so 504s are not IEP likes. These are but 504 plans do have accommodations specifically for the kids. So I've written up 504 plans for making sure they have positive peers around them. To focus. I've done it for preferential seating. Doesn't mean sitting at the front of the room. And specifically for other things such as reduce the amount of math and stuff. If you have a specific learning disability, that usually falls under an IEP. Autism falls under an IEP. These are just knowing what that verbiage is very important. And that's something that it definitely, again, reach out to your counselors if you have questions about that, because that is an important piece. But again, I wanted to add that if you have a medical thing and it's a affecting your kids' education. So this is for educational purposes. It's for academic purposes. This is not a medical decision, but it does help them in the long run. It's kind of what I'm getting at. So when we talk about this, they are looked at on a yearly basis. Please, again, reach out to your counselors if you have questions about that more specifically.
And do your homework, because you are your child's best advocate. I can't tell you. My husband is very intelligent. He has a PhD, went to West Point and Harvard, and I'm an educated woman as well, and I'm pretty doggone smart. But when all this first started with our kids, I mean, we did a lot of research, and it was still confusing for us. So don't be afraid to talk to people and ask questions and go on the internet and do your own research, because and find support group with other people that, you know, reach out to people, because it is a big deal.
And there is a Facebook group that is Military Child Special Education. I'll probably get that out there, but that has been out there. And so just understand there's a whole bunch of resources out here that are untapped in this county because people don't know about it. But when you're doing that, I will guide you. If you're going to do your own research, do it smart. Please.
Yes, and well, also the military component is very important because it changes from state to state. It was very different in Kansas than it was in Florida. So that's my other 2 cents.
So Representative Lorna did the Purple Star schools.
Yes.
That is a fantastic thing. And so also Military Child Education Coalition is a fantastic organization for our military kids and our military families, also as educators, so that we know how to service our military families properly. So there you go, another resource.
Yay! Thank you so much, Laura. We really appreciate all your help and all your insight into everything, and I'm just really glad to know you as a friend. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. If y'all have any more questions, I will have more information I'll share as I know. When we return to school, all of us are kind of in this together. There's but just remember that there is, if you have a question, ask it. Don't just go to your friend. Don't just hop above. Just ask the question. And if we don't know it, we'll tell you. We don't know, but we're going to come back to you and we'll be able to do this.
Yes.
We are, again, for anything that has to do with mental health, don't ignore it like it's a phase. Just make sure you check it out. It could be a phase, but chances are maybe it's not. And it's situational. Right. Your kid could be fine and had been fine before the pandemic, but then now everything is just crashing around them. They can be very extroverted, go into school and find that they are having difficulty transitioning. Please, again, encourage them to also advocate for themselves. That is going to be a huge piece. We talk about it in schools. I always say by the time, because I follow my kids up 6th, 7th, and 8th, by the time they leave me, I'm like, you will know how to advocate for yourself, kids. You're going to speak for yourselves, because when you get to high school, they have so many people that your parent can't just be the only one speaking up for you. You're going to have to learn to advocate for yourself. So that is important.
And college, it's important too, because they do have they do have 504 plans for college, and a lot of kids don't realize that. So once you know how to advocate for yourself, you know, it's your mama's not going to be able to go with you to college to do this. You need to be able to speak up for yourself. So it's really important.
Just so parents are aware. They will not share information with you once they turn 18 and college. Right. So I am telling you that don't think you could be like there and doing that. But advocating for your kids is important, but also teaching them to advocate for themselves. And listen, just listen, be flexible, be able to listen. Whatever you're feeling, work through and process, but it may not be necessarily what they're feeling. And so it's just important, again, that we listen, we talk to our counselors. This is what we love to do. We prefer to do this over testing.
Blame you.
Which is another show altogether.
we do not have time for that. We definitely.
But thank you again for having me. If you all have any questions or anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask me. Okay?
Definitely. All right. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you,
Laura. Have a great day.
I cut her off. I just have a tendency to do that. I don't know. I'm just not very good at that part. Anyway. All right. So that was a lot of information. And helpful information
for being not professionals and not the regular people. We did so good. I'm sorry to say it, but we did awesome. Yes.
Yes, but now I'm going to need to go and take a nap because this was a lot for me to do.
It was a lot.
So.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't remember how many things we said we were going to post. I know I have.
Oh
I
my
have to look
gosh.
up the one thing that I can't remember. So that's very important.
Good luck
for
with
kids.
that.
Yeah. Oh, that have
I was
disabilities,
posting
so.
as Laura was talking, so hopefully I got some of the things she mentioned.
Okay, I will
and
forward my information to you, and you can stick it on the screen when I get off the phone.
I will.
off
I
the
will
phone.
try. I'm
Okay.
headed out of town this afternoon to go visit a friend of mine that I met a couple years ago, and we haven't seen each other in a year. So I will try to post the stuff this afternoon, but I will be on the road anyway.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Erin. Thanks for being my co-host today. It was lovely having me, because no one ever gets to see you.
No one ever gets to see me. No.
Because I'm the Anna and Sheila and sometimes Melinda. So I've been on quite a bit, but
you have,
but not Erin. So we're very happy to have you today.
But let's not make this a regular thing, okay?
No,
Anna and Sheila, you guys got to come back, because it's the Anna and Sheila show, not Melinda and Erin. You know,
no,
it's
not
Anna
Melinda
and
and Erin. We prefer to be behind the scenes. So
definitely,
anyway.
yes.
All right. Well, have a great day, and here's Ruth.
To Ruth, and now I'm gonna play us off and hopefully get this right.
Okay. Bye.